Accountability can also mean that you are not escaping into self care. Yes, you are not escaping into self care. Sometimes we think, okay, self care looks like having to pamper myself, go to Target 20 million times a day, watch a million Netflix at home, be in your own space, do a million face masks. And when in reality, that could just be escapism. Sometimes you don't need to go to Target. Sometimes you don't need to do that face mask. You can go to the dollar store and grab one. You don't need to spend that. Because let's say you do have a goal of um, financial freedom or or saving. The last thing you want to do is say, okay, well, this is self care. I'm gonna uh, I'm gonna buy a mask and buy a whole bunch of things that I don't need because I'm doing this for self care reasons. Escapism could look like escapism. Is not always escapism, but it could be. Sometimes self care is not buying that thing, not going to Target, not spending. That can also show up as self care. Um, it's not always pampering. I mean, it could be done, and I've done, and I do it myself. I come from a space of overindulging, so I know what not overindulging looks like, what overindulging looks like, and what moderation looks like. And you don't need to escape all the time into self-care. It's not necessary. It's not going to make you a better person. It's not going to make you calmer if you are always thinking about pampering. You don't have to do it all the time. You can do it in a routinely basis, like once a month or whatever. But sometimes the spending is unnecessary. Sometimes self-care means being at peace with what you have at the moment and not having to overly spend, overly go out. Sometimes just being still. I have a savings goal. I'm not going to spend on this. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to stay home. I'm not going to go out and buy a million things. I'm not going to self-care in that way. I want to self-care in a way that I'm controlling my urges to overindulge or over self-soothe with things. That could be self-care too. Um, yeah, self-care is whatever is aiding the goal at hand, and not escapism. I think um, in the new age of self care and manifesting and all these buzzwords that we use, since we're going into more spiritual times, um, we use these things to kind of escape. And it's not always hard work. It's not always, because it sounds like I'm militant on my goals and whatever. I'm not militant. I'm not always 100% on them, but I know when something is more of a detriment than a benefit, especially when it comes to things like saving or overindulging or overdoing something because you don't want to do something else, or I'm going out with my friends for the millionth time when maybe you should stay in and work on something that's more fulfilling. Um, Sometimes self care is probably doing the complete opposite, which that is doing the complete opposite of what you're trying to escape to do. Yeah, it's a tricky game out here. I don't have my shit all figured out, and even talking about certain things is just like I feel hypocritical because sometimes I do these things, but um, I've taught myself so much about moderation and balance and equilibrium that sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm just on being too harsh. Um, and I don't want to come off as too harsh or militant because I'm really not. I'm really not. But it is important to be serious about the things that you want to create. It is really important. The things that you want to achieve, whether it's peace. And peace looks different to everyone too. Peace could be $1 million to someone. Peace could be just getting a meal for tomorrow, having a meal for tomorrow, and having a place to sleep at for another. Peace is so different. Whatever brings you closer to that state of peace is whatever you should work for. That should be the building blocks of the goal should be peace.